my second best moment, we're going to women's college softball, which I'm a big fan of. So the Oklahoma softball team went 59-3 in 2022.
Period.
Which you can argue is probably, the most dominating season of college softball that we've ever seen. So 40 of their 59 victories came from the run rule. So leading by, I think, 8 runs after 5 innings. So they're just blowing teams out.
That's crazy.
It was unreal to watch. And they obviously won the College World Series because if you only lose 3 games a year, you're probably winning it all. But there's just not a lot of teams in any sport, professional or college, I feel like, that have just been so dominant for that amount of time. I mean, they play like 60 games all the way through, which is a lot different than playing 12 or 15 in a season. I think it's comparable to when Golden State went like 72-10. They didn't win, obviously, because LeBron and the NBA's rigged, but it's comparable to that season, but people just don't know about it because it's women's sports, and that's a whole thing, but
that's just a whole nother story for another day.
Yeah.
No, I think that's awesome. I think that's really exciting, and even though people don't know about it / talk about it, I think there are people like us who care and talk about it and paid attention, and there's girls that like look up to that and are like, oh, that's awesome. Like that could be me, or like young softball players look to that team and to the season as inspiration. So we love like women's sports progressing.
Love it. And there's this one athlete on the team. What's her name? Her name is Jocelyn Allo, and she's from Hawaii. But, like, I don't think I've ever seen a player so dominating in a sport like baseball or softball. Like, she had over 120, like, she just finished her career. She had over 120 home runs. She had 34 home runs throughout the entire season. So, like, every other game, she's blasting a home run, which is unreal. So it was just cool to see. She was like the big story of the team, and she got to play in front of her family. They had flew in from Hawaii, and so it was super neat, super heartfelt.
I love the heartfelt moment.
Just a dominating performance by her in Oklahoma. So we love to see it. It would really suck to go up against a team like that, but it is what it is for everyone else.
Play in the final?
That's the very last game.
Yeah.
They beat Texas. So the last one's like best of 3. So they beat Texas 16-1 and then 10-5.
Oh my God. Yeah, like absolute domination.
Yeah, like they absolutely crushed people. Even when you get to the World Series and you're crushing people, it's unreal.
Yeah, like that's a hard thing to do.
I've never experienced being
so
good at something
that with any of my teams either in my entire life.
No, just getting a winning season, gosh, is good enough for me sometimes.
Yeah, by like one game, I'll take it. I'm like, okay, we're not 500. That's good.
Cool.
No, I think that's awesome. And I think that really the only other like women's college sports team that's always covered is the UConn women's basketball team.
Yeah, them too.
And obviously this year with them losing for like the first time in 12 years or something crazy like that, I think that it's always good to have like, I think women's college sports is always doing amazing things, but for some reason it takes something crazy like Oklahoma's season for them to actually be in the news.
That's facts. I always forget about how women's college basketball is probably the sport that's dominated by the same teams year after year, more so than any other league or sport, when you think about it, it is always like the same 4 teams.
Yeah, consistently.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I feel like people would make the argument that, like, oh, that's why women's college basketball is boring. But yet the same shit happens in the NBA, but... Like, it's okay when the men do it, but the women,
You need some diversity in there.
Yeah, like, or even, college football, like, there's usually a domination of teams, and it's like, okay, this is just acceptable, but if it's women's college basketball, they're like, oh, this is boring. Like, make it make sense.
It'll be interesting to see if more colleges pour NIL money into women's sports and how that affects it as well.
I guess we'll see. Maybe that'll be something we talk about in 2023.
Stay tuned.